In a small village deep within the dark forests, there stood an old, abandoned house known as the House of Shadows. Locals say its history stretches back for decades, and rumors tell of evil spirits wandering within. There was a young man named Mark, naturally curious, who decided to enter the House of Shadows to see if the stories were true. The clock was nearing midnight, and the silence enveloping the forest made every sound seem frightening. As Mark entered the house, he felt a cold atmosphere wrap around him, as if the demons of the night were watching. The rooms were dark and the windows were tightly shut, making them appear like dark tombs. In the corners, shadows crept in, and Mark felt as if the walls were breathing a hidden life. While wandering inside the house, Mark heard strange sounds coming from a dark room upstairs. The sounds resembled heavy footsteps approaching him. He quickly dashed toward the stairs, but felt something grip his shoulder tightly. Mark froze, unable to move. He felt an intense cold spreading through his body, as if an invisible hand reached out from behind him. Strange whispers crept into his ear, fading in and out indistinctly. As Mark stood in this terrifying darkness, he saw shadows moving in every direction around him. They came from every corner, playing with the darkness and melding into the walls. It was as if the shadows took on horrific shapes to terrify his heart. Suddenly, the lights went out, and the house was engulfed in complete darkness. Mark heard hysterical laughter and loud screams, but there was no one in the house except for him and the darkness surrounding him. He tried to run, but the more he attempted to escape, the more the shadows tangled and thickened around him. In a moment of panic, the lights suddenly returned. He found himself alone in the room he had been in before the lights went out, with no trace of the shadows or the terrifying sounds. There was only the deep silence of the night. Mark quickly exited the house, as if his heart were still beating calmly. He didn't know whether the shadows were real or just a figment of his fearful imagination. But he lived the rest of his life convinced that the House of Shadows vanished into the darkness, waiting for curious adventurers to show them a glimpse of the terror of the night.